The Sex Ed with Tim podcast is recorded on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands.
You're listening to Sex Ed with Tim.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sex Ed with Tim podcast. I'm your host Tim, certified sex educator. I identify as a chaotic homosexual. And if you want to spice things up in the bedroom, I suggest you play doctor, in the sense that you should make him wait outside the bedroom door for an hour. If only we can make it as realistic as possible. I'll bring a speculum into the bedroom and then not have sex at all, just make it as medical as possible. But hey, some people are into that. I don't know. I haven't been to the doctor in forever, which is why I'm dying. No, I'm not. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent. We're here to talk about, let's see. We're just here to talk about dating. We're here to talk about, how to be a better date, be a better partner, be a better you. None of those things I know how to do because I am an absolute dumpster fire. So I have here with me the founder, the CEO, the head in charge. I don't know what else to call you, Andre. President? Everything. Of the Chosn app.
The visionary, all of those things are good.
There you go. But please don't let me hijack your intro. Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience, Andre?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Andre Smith. I'm founder of Chosn. It is a relationship wellness app designed to help people be the best version of themselves, helping people show up better as a friend and as a partner, and just be a better version of themselves, whatever that may be.
That's so cool. A better version of yourself. And if only I can learn a thing or two. I mean, I've signed up for the nudge notifications.
I'm sure at some point you have grown. Like you're not the same person that I knew a year ago, I think, when we first met. So like at some point over the past year, how would you say that you've grown?
Okay, you know what? That's a good question. In the past year, I feel that I am at least more aware of my emotions and where they're coming from and what they're telling me.
Okay.
I think that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, that's a positive thing. And I'm sure if you go back and you look at the last 5 years, you probably could pick something else out that you are a better version of yourself than 5 years ago.
Well, 5 years ago, I didn't hit 4 digits in my kill list, if you know what I mean. So.
I know what you mean.
Right.
So that's a positive thing, right? It was something on your list that you wanted to check off, and you had to figure out how you were going to get there. You learned some new tricks. You spiced things up. And you met some new tricks as well. So like all of those things are like positive things. Like there's no reason that whatever the better version of yourself is, as long as it's not imposing on someone else's well-being, I think it's a positive thing.
And I like that you say whatever is the better version of yourself, because there's no actual ideal better version that everyone should aspire to, is there?
No, not at all. And also, if you think of like, what means something to you at different stages of your life, what you would be happy on that kill list or your bucket list might be different at different stages of your life. And so like whatever that is for you, I think people should, set a goal and attain it, and, just whatever that better version of yourself looks like at that stage in your life, you should be able to get it.
Right. And that's where Chosen comes in. And what I like about one of the main features that Chosen highlights at the homepage is that it's science based. There's like a relationship science to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So like my own personal journey on personal development was a mix of therapy, books, mentors, lived experiences. And so there wasn't any necessarily one right way to get there, but if I could have gotten better information earlier on, so where maybe I was comfortable with the ideal of intimacy, or I was comfortable with the idea of opening up to a mentor or a therapist, if I could have gotten there quicker, it could have caused myself less pain, and it could have caused other people in my life less pain.
Aw, what happened? Can you give us a little bit of what that pain was?
I would say that, we've all had relationships that didn't work out, and maybe, you were a part of it not working out. So it's not necessarily that maybe it wasn't a good fit. It could be just, it wasn't the right time. I couldn't communicate what my needs or desires were, or vice versa. I've had any number of those situations, whether romantically or as a friend, or, maybe not showing up the best version of myself in a professional environment. All of those things are connected. They all have, some type of outcome that negatively impacts you. And of course you can, afterward, you can say, okay, I grew from that. I know that I don't want to feel that way again, or I don't want to make someone else feel that way, but how can we get there with like less of that pain?
Oh, that's deep. If I had an air horn sound, damn. So where in that journey were you like, you know what? I have gone through this and I feel like other people have gone through it. So I'm going to try my best to start something, an app or a foundation or whatever. Like, how did those gears start clicking to start Chosen?
The last 3 or 4 years, I've been thinking about it in various aspects. I would say that it all kind of came together over this past year. But I would say just like my personal growth journey probably has been over a decade. Whether it was reading a good book or therapy or getting different mentors in different parts of my life, there was still the challenge of, okay, how do I apply it in my life? And like, if you think about your communication style, it's like, okay, I understand communication styles, but then it's like, okay, how do I apply it to this person in front of me? Not just theoretically in a perfect universe, like this is how I want to be communicated with, but it's like, how do I actually communicate it with somebody? Or how do I pick up on what their communication style is so that they can get the best version of me and they can hear me based on what their needs are? That was really the challenge that I saw, even when I was reading these books or going to therapy. It was still like, okay, how do I actually apply it? And so that's where I saw that the challenge was. And then, just kind of started researching. My goal has always been to be a serial entrepreneur. And so, it was just a matter of like research, talking to people like, okay, these are struggles that I'm having. How are you dealing with them? One of the things that I did just even in college and after college, I would host conversation parties where we would come over, everybody would cook dinner. We would throw questions in a hat and we would pick them out and have conversations around it.
That's
and
hot.
So, yeah, like, it can be as interesting as the people that are there. And if it's the more diverse the group is, I think the more interesting the conversation can be, because people are going to come to the table with different lived experiences. And so, it'll challenge the way that you think, the more diverse that group is, because if you just have a bunch of people that, you basically agree on everything, then you're not going to really be pushed past your comfort zone of having,
you're in an echo chamber,
intellectual conversation. Exactly. And so like I've always tried to do that. And so, as I was going through, I saw that there's been 700 million that's been spent in the last decade on mental health apps, but that still doesn't necessarily help with the stigma. And we've only gone from serving 42% of the need to 47%. So it's more than just money or access. There's also the stigma. There's the, what if you're coming from a culture or a religion that you're just not ideal with asking for help or asking questions outside of your community, and so all of those things, those nuances, I think the cultural competency just was lacking. And I thought that was something that I could bring to the table, being, a black man from the South.
Mm-hmm. How do you think Chosn breaks the stigma and busts out of that echo chamber that we're so used to?
I think the biggest thing is meeting people where they're at. So a lot of apps, if you're not ready for therapy, there's really no point of you downloading it, because it's like you can only get therapy. And so it's like, if you're not ready for a therapy session, like there's no need of downloading it. And and once you're not in a therapy session, it's very limited to what you're going to actually even use it for. So I think the biggest thing is making it relatable and meeting you where you're at. So everybody has a relationship, whether it's with yourself, whether it's with a friend, a family, or significant other. You can choose every 30 days what goals you want to work on. And then, we'll meet you where you're at, because everybody has a relationship. Everybody's used to like, okay, like maybe I'm not ready for therapy, but I would like to be a better version of myself next month than I am this month. Or I might want to stop having breakups, or I just want to have a better relationship with my sibling or my parents. Everybody kind of goes through those different stages at their own time. And so meeting people where they're at, I think, is going to be the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. But that's not to say that like these apps are a substitute for therapy, is it? It's more of like just a stepping stone.
Yeah, it's a stepping stone, but what my personal vision is to create an end-to-end solution. So, even though today I'm starting with, a person setting their relationship goals every 30 days and getting a nudge text message of a suggestion, my mission is to close the mental health gap. And I think I can do that by creating an end-to-end solution. So everything from that daily touch point all the way through on-demand coaching and on-demand therapy. And, I think sometimes we don't necessarily need a therapist to get a better job. Sometimes you just need somebody to hold you accountable to changing up your resume, or,
call you out on your bullshit.
Right. Exactly. Or you need a sex coach because you need to spice it up and you need some, educated feedback in that part of your life. And you don't necessarily need to go to therapy for that. And so it's about meeting people where they're at, and whatever you need throughout your emotional and mental health journey, how can we provide tools to make that process easier?
Mm-hmm. Where do you think that stigma comes from, where asking for help or seeking the aid of an app or a coach or whatever is like a sign of weakness? Is that like just us trying to shift the needle to being a more thick-skinned society, or is there something more than that?
I mean, as a black man from the South, I would say that it's definitely religion on our side, and I can't speak for every culture, but, I would say that for the black community, it's definitely religion.
Oh, honey, for immigrants as well, girl. Like, my conservative Catholic Filipino family is like, you're never supposed to admit defeat, ever. You're supposed to be the best that you can be. Like me being Asian and gay and like being in like white majority school, I can't just be good. I have to be the best, right? Oh my God.
So did you feel the pressure to be like the best gay?
Always. I felt the pressure to be like, all right, I have to be a well-behaved gay man. I have to be a well-behaved Asian man. And that means having to get the top of the class. I have to be like not flamboyant, I have to blend in. And, there were some points in school where I saw myself like, okay, this is working, because how like yearbooks, they would have like most likely to be all that. I got voted most likely to be the Prime Minister of Canada. So I'm like, okay, so this is a sign that this is working, that I am like...
You've played the game well.
Exactly. I've blended in well. So look at how that turned out for my mental health. I've been in therapy for the last 4 years.
That's good. That's a positive thing.
I mean, right. I had to go through a little bit of trauma to find it. But, I do enjoy that this app that you've created is Like, it's a way for people that are struggling with their mental health or with their relationships. It's kind of like what's the metaphor I'm looking for? To like dip your toe in the water without taking the full plunge, because I understand that therapy can be scary, and also like the state of financing therapy is abysmal. Like, shit,
Yeah.
I get that
on,
it's expensive.
on both sides of that relationship. I would say that the therapists are equally as frustrated with the system as the customer is.
Yeah, like they're so pissed about, like, I don't know, like insurance and malpractice and or whatever else fees that they have to cover. So I do enjoy what Chosn is doing, but don't let me sing your praises, please. Like, walk us through how exactly Chosn works, like from step 1 to whatever goal that the user sets.
Yeah. So as soon as they go to chosn.io, the first thing you get to do is choose what relationship you want to work on. So your romantic relationship, family, friends, or yourself. And then from there, you get a list of 6 goals, and you choose 3. And then from there, every 3 times a week, we'll send you a nudge via text message around a suggestion on what you can do to accomplish that goal. And then there's going to be an interactive link that if you want to learn more about that particular goal or that particular nudge of like how to actually implement it or like why that's important, you can click on that link and you'll be able to like read more about like why that nudge is important and how to implement it in your life.
Ooh, that's cool. What's an example of a goal and a nudge?
Let's do one from the personal, and then I'll do one from the romantic as well. Under personal, improve health and wellness. Treat yourself to some form of self-care once a week. So that would be the nudge. And then the learn more part would be you can't take care of others if you don't care for yourself. So make sure that you practice self-care. Practicing self-care has several emotional, mental health, and physical benefits. For example, self-care can reduce stress, frustration, and anger while increasing concentration, happiness, and energy. Thus, remember to take care of yourself first, as it benefits both you and those you love, because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Preach, preach. To all the gays that are listening to this episode, RuPaul said it best. If you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else?
Amen to that. Amen to that. Exactly. You can't. I literally was just having this conversation with a close friend this past week, and for like over a month, they were going back and forth with a relationship that wasn't serving them. And it wasn't even like it was a relationship in the sense of like titles were involved, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend, or, you know, anything like that. It was literally just like early dating stage of like just trying to decide whether or not you wanted to go out to eat again. And like the person was just not emotionally available. And I was just like, this is not serving you. Like, you just need to shut this off because like it's not adding to your life in any way. And it's not that they're a bad person or they're intending to hurt you. It's more just like they're not available. And if they're not available, like it's okay. Maybe you will connect again at a different time in each of your lives. So where you're both emotionally available. And it's not fun to be on either side of that conversation, you know, because, you know, even as somebody that has been on the side where I'm not emotionally available, like it's not fun to know that like your emotional unavailability is causing someone else pain.
Yeah. I'm like, I didn't mean to. I'm just not at that space yet. Yeah. I've been on both ends. I mean, because I'm versatile, yeah. But you know, but like it, I love sucks. It sucks. Like, yeah. Like when my emotions are not being reciprocated, or that when somebody was like falling a little too fast for me, I was like, Oh God! And then I get all anxious as to how to communicate that because I get scared of like, am I going to seem too clingy if I profess my feelings, or am I going to seem like a malicious, heinous bitch if I say, "Oh, I'm not exactly where you're at right now," and it's like,
Yeah.
How do I fight that? Or do I even have to fight it? Should I just accept that uncomfortable feeling?
I lean towards the latter of like being, we have to at some point be comfortable with having those uncomfortable conversations, because like, if you think about it, if you ended up in a relationship on some level with this person, there's probably going to be other uncomfortable conversations. Just have it. Like, it's going to be uncomfortable for sure, but it's not like that's going to be the last uncomfortable conversation that you have, if you're still talking to this person. And I think I think we need to do a better job even with our friends. Like, we put so much emphasis on our romantic life of like holding these amazing standards that our romantic partner needs to be our lover or
everything.
Our everything. Like, but like, we should like spread that love out and that thoughtfulness of, asking our friends or our family to show up better, and also for us to, reciprocate and show up how that person needs us. And, maybe not all of the time you have the capacity, but you can also communicate, hey, I don't have the capacity to show up like this right now, but this is how I can show up for you. Like, this is what I have the space for.
But what if, like, that's still not a match? Is it worth just to say deuces?
Does every person have to be a match for that life experience to have value? Like, just imagine how we started this conversation with you mentioned your kill list, right?
I should rename that. That's awful. But
yeah. I was like, that's a little toxic, but okay. You know what? We're gonna meet you where you at, Tim.
Listen, I am anything but healthy. Right? I'm a toxic little rat.
So yeah, I was like, that's toxic, but you know what? We're going to meet you where you're at. And so we're going to go with it for now. Right. So does every experience on that kill list need to end up in this like lifelong relationship for that experience to have been valuable to you?
Good question. No, I don't think so. Because like, okay. Everyone that I've ever slept with has affected me in one way or another, but like not in the sense that like it's had such a profound meaning to me. They've affected me in some way where I like saw the world a little bit differently, or they made me rethink how sex should be or something, but not to the point where it's like, oh wow, the world is so much brighter, or some bullshit like that. So
exactly. So that's why I think that having that conversation, like, that is a positive thing, because you've had the conversation, and it doesn't mean that that person needed to be like a lifelong contact for you for that relationship to be valuable. Whether it's romantically, sexually, friend-wise, like, some people are meant to be in your life for a season. Some people will be in your life for multiple seasons, and some people will be in your life for a lifetime. But all of those experiences make you who you are.
How do you know which one is the season relationship and which one's like the whole, all the way until the series finale kind of relationship?
Are you able to have those tough conversations?
Absolutely fucking not.
Oh, no. then that means that you're not ready to go on that journey with somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because you're going to have, tough conversations, uncomfortable conversations. And there's nothing like, wrong with that uncomfortability. It's not like I treasure it being uncomfortable. Like, I would like to be more comfortable with the idea of emotional intimacy, but like, I'm not always. Like, sometimes it could be that person. Sometimes it could be my timing on my end that I'm not emotionally available. And I don't think that there's necessarily any right or wrong way to look at it. I think it's more just being honest with, yourself, and also honest with the other person. I think there's this term that I've heard used multiple times about intellectual flexibility and emotional flexibility of like, if you meet somebody today, like, as a person, we evolve every couple of years, right? And so if you're going to spend a lifetime with somebody, you're going to have to be comfortable with that person changing, as they're going to have to be comfortable with you changing, because like your needs, your desires, or what was important to you now is different than maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So like we evolve as humans. And so you're going to have to be comfortable with having that flexibility of understanding that you're going to change. That person is going to change. You got to talk those things out.
Mm-hmm. Does it ever get easier, do you think, these uncomfortable conversations?
Easier? I don't know. How do you do that? Right? You know what I mean? Like
hell no.
It's not. I would not say it gets necessarily easier. Maybe you don't necessarily feel as bad after them, or you don't have the anxiety building up to it. But there's still going to be that level of discomfort, but you don't necessarily, you can grow past that anxiety, and just get more comfortable with that feeling.
My insecurity with that revolves around the difference between, or maybe not so much a difference, but rather like there's this fine line between having that difficult conversation and looking like a cold, heinous bitch, right? So I don't want to be like, heartless or callous. It's just that this isn't exactly how I feel. So for example, when I was having that conversation with the guy who was falling in love with me a little too quickly, he was like, "That's rude. Why did you lead me on?" I'm like, "I didn't realize I was leading you on." And then he sent me a whole thread of like insults and like whatever. And I was like, I didn't mean to do this. Do I deserve this? Am I that bad of a person?
No, you didn't deserve it. And that probably speaks to maybe insecurities that he had. So that reminds me of like an insecure attachment style. And so any type of rejection is not just like a simple, you need to tone it down. He's hearing that as, I hate you. I don't love you. I think that you're acting ridiculous. Like, that's how he's hearing it. It doesn't really have anything to do with you. And I think sometimes we have to realize that sometimes people's reactions, that's some internal shit they got to work out.
That's true. But I can't help but feel that I caused some sort of harm, and me being like the people pleaser that I am, that doesn't sit well with me, that I caused harm, or I made someone uncomfortable, or I just like ruined their day. And I think maybe, is that more of a me problem?
Well, like let's talk through like what could you control in that situation? Did you ever ask what's your conflict style? Like, how would you prefer to be communicated with? Like, are you somebody that you see a problem, you immediately want to talk about it? Or
no, I want to run away for the hills.
Right. Do you want to run away? Like, do you need time to like sit in your thoughts? Because like I'm very much somebody that even if there's a problem, like I don't want to be caught off guard about it being a problem. Like, give me a heads up. Let me like think through it. Maybe I wasn't maybe I was just having a bad day, but like give me a heads up. But that's my communication style. And so like maybe asking, before engaging in that conversation, figuring out what's their communication style, because you can control how you deliver something. You can tweak the context or the, how direct or indirect you want to be based on the other person's communication
style. Tone, the delivery.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There was all the time. I definitely got in trouble with my parents for my tone. I can guarantee you that.
I know that.
Definitely got in trouble for tones.
say that again, and then they'll go grab the slipper or something. Like,
and then I would say it again. I'm like, just in case you didn't hear me, let me repeat myself. And I meant it. Right. Exactly.
You heard me the first time. You're not deaf, are you?
Right. Exactly.
Oh my God. If my parents ever heard me talking like that, like, oh God, I would not be here recording this podcast right now. Jesus, I would, yeah, they would be pissing on my grave.
Right. Exactly. You know, those are all those are like learning experiences, and you know, you can only control how you show up, and you know, maybe just ask a couple of questions so you know how to better show up for that individual.
So we've been talking a lot about communication, and I was wondering then, what do you think we're getting wrong in most of our relationships? Is it just like how we're conveying our ideas and our feelings, or is there something more than that?
I think we are more apt to communicate how we want to be communicated with, as opposed to taking the other person into account of, this is just who I am, love it or leave it, this is who I am. If you line up 5 people, each of them are going to hear that differently. And maybe you can just ask some questions about, you know, hey, what is this person's communication style? You know, is tone important? You know, are they a touchy-feely person where, like, you know, before I deliver it, you know, I need to give them a dap or a hug? You know, all of those little nuances. I think that's probably what we get wrong the most, is like not taking the other person into account of how they're going to hear it.
Right. But is that really our responsibility though? Or is that more of a them problem?
Do you want to be right, or do you want to get it right?
Oh, ooh. Meow, 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 meow.
I mean,
holy shit.
I mean, like, you can get upset with the results and be like, oh, well, that's just that other person's problem. But if they're not hearing you how you intended them to, like, you're still not getting what you wanted out of the communication. And not always all the time are you going to necessarily have the most capacity to, like, do those things. But one of the things I've tried to do is not turn that on and off in my life, of just like, that's how I'm going to be. Like, regardless of whether I'm in a professional situation, a friend situation, a significant other situation, I'm going to be the same person. And I'm going to try to pick up on those nuances, and so that they can hear me how I'm intending.
Okay.
It's not hard.
I hear that.
Rather, I meant to say it's not easy. It's more of like turning it consciously on and just being like, okay, I'm not going to turn this off. Like, I'm just going to, like, this is who I'm going to be. That's how it's been easier for me. But like, it doesn't, like, in practice, it's not always easy. Like, I'm still not always going to be at my best depending on what day you catch me. But I can still try. And if I'm trying, I'm still going to be better than if I just said, fuck it. This is who I am. Love it.
That's true. And that sounds like, I don't know, Instagram therapy, where it's like, you don't owe anyone an explanation. You can just walk out. It's like,
yeah, you can. But like, are you getting what you truly want out of that? Like, I don't know, like maybe it's like refreshing to be a dick to somebody. Like, ooh, I told them. But are you walking away with the good or service or what you needed from the interaction?
Right. That's true. Because I guess with something that callous, if you are that kind of person and you get away from that interaction with what you need, then I guess it just seems like, I don't know, it seems gray, and there's like no right or wrong answer to this, because it feels very like nuanced, and it requires a lot of nuance to.
It is nuanced. Yeah. I mean, an example of how I do something that negatively affects my communication. So I grew up in a household where my opinion didn't matter. And so I am more apt to be extra honest with somebody, not because they necessarily needed to know all that, but it makes me feel better that my viewpoint was heard. But it wasn't necessarily the appropriate time to say that, or it wasn't necessarily the person that needed that level of honesty from me. But it had to do with my parents and my upbringing not allowing me to be honest.
Oh, yeah. That's really some stunted growth there, or like a missed opportunity if they're not allowing you to be that honest.
Yeah. And so like think about having that as the first 25 years of my life. How many missed opportunities of growth did I have if instead of getting to therapy, books, a better version of myself in my 30s, like what if that would have been 10 years earlier? Like what about my life would be different if I was a better version of myself earlier? Like how many, negative relationships or negative situations could I have prevented in various relationships if I could have gotten there?
But also, maybe a little bit of negativity is not so bad. A healthy amount of those negative instances.
You need a little bit of negativity to appreciate the sunshine, right? I mean, I get it, But that was a way that that wasn't a positive thing on my end. And it made me feel good, but it wasn't always good for the other person. And it didn't necessarily serve the end goal that I wanted. It just made me feel good in the moment.
I, however, am just always a negative little rat. Spreading negativity all around like COVID.
No, you've grown over the past year and you're aware of where your feelings
that's
come
true.
from. So
that's true.
You have to give yourself more credit.
I do hide behind this facade of comedy and self-deprecation, but internally, yes, I do understand that I have had some growth, slowly but surely. I don't think I'm exactly where I want to be yet emotionally, but would I change the things that I've been through? Absolutely not.
We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Yes!
Hey, you sick motherfuckers! I've got a special treat for you. Need a new toy to spice up your sex life? Head over to loveshop.ca/sexedwithtim and get yourself a cock ring, a dildo, a vibrator, or even a life-sized sex doll. Damn, I guess love really does come in all shapes and sizes. Get 15% off your entire order when you use code SEXEDWITHTIM at checkout. They're shipping to all of Canada and the United States because North America is horny. That's loveshop.ca/sexedwithtim and use code SEXEDWITHTIM for 15% off your entire purchase. Happy orgasm! Do you like feeling sexy and looking sexy? Of course you do. Only my listeners are sexy as fuck. I have partnered with fetishwear designer Dale Kuda to bring you the hottest deals on custom jock straps, harnesses, hats, and more. Head over to dalekuda.com, that's DALEKUDA.com, and use code SEXEDWITHTIM at checkout for 25% off the entire store. Yeah, you heard me. 25% off. And cherry on top, free shipping. Oh my god. I have a few of the stuff that he has made for me, and girl, I'm wearing wearing it right now. I'm wearing like a little jock strap so that I could easily just like slip a little butt plug or dildo every now and then here and there. And I'm on the train. I'm just like, thank you, Dale. That's DaleCuda.com with the code SEXEDWithTim for 25% off your entire purchase with free shipping. With a deal like that, I swear I could come buckets, honey.
The show is about to begin.
Yes.
How do you think your app would then help in times of crisis if something does come up?
In each of those goals, there are, or each of those relationship types, there are conflict resolutions in each of them. So there's definitely suggestions that we'll give there. But one of the things that we'll be rolling out this fall are challenges that can be done either as an individual or with a partner. And when I say partner, just like somebody that you're doing the challenge with. It doesn't need to be a romantic partner. It could be a friend, family, what have you. We're definitely creating challenges for, every emotion or aspect of a person's life. So we'll definitely be working on those things. Is there any type of conflict or emergency that you can think of that your audience has experienced more than others?
Well, I've been receiving emails like, for example, I suspect that my partner is cheating on me, or I no longer want to be in this relationship because I feel like it doesn't serve me, or my partner is just not pulling their weight in this relationship and now we're struggling to meet rent and pay the bills because they're unemployed and they're not willfully searching for a job, something like that.
So I would say under personal relationships, there are goals that are related to financial growth and emotional growth. So there's definitely suggestions that we'll give on the nudges. But even for example, we did a 7-day love challenge with Shay. And so we created one of the days that was like chosen conversations. Depending on how a person answered questions, then we would give them conversation starters that were relevant to those two people. It takes the ownership off yourself in the sense of, hey, these are just some suggestions that the app gave us, and we're going to have these conversations, so it's in a little bit more of a controlled environment to where, they don't have to be upset that like, you're calling them out. It's more of like,
it doesn't sound as accusatory. Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't sound as accusatory. And so creating unique challenges like that where we can spark conversations and, we did like the 7-day love challenge. And so that was like really condensed in, covering a lot of different areas, essentially a different area every day. But we'll have other challenges that will be very narrowly focused. So, what does money mean to you? And, those are conversations that depending on what money means to a person and what their relationship with money is, those conversations can be a little different, or depending on, what their financial literacy is, those conversations may be a little different. And if you're dealing with, say a business owner, and that might be a little different than if you're dealing with somebody that is hour to hour. And it's not right or wrong. It's more just about, okay, how can we facilitate a better conversation?
And those better conversations can vary. They'll always like be different. They're going to sound different. I know
in different stages of life.
That's true. Yeah, because not every single conversation in every stage of life is going to be the same. Like a husband and wife or whatever, spouses, they can't have the same conversation as like two people that are going out on a date for the very first time. You imagine?
Exactly.
Your first day, you're already talking about down payment on a mortgage. Jesus.
Right, exactly. Like, hey, do you have your 50% on this mortgage? Like,
hell.
That would be an awkward first. That's an awkward first date, So, or if you're dealing with raising kids.
Yeah. Oh God. I once went on a date where this guy asked me, "What's my 5-year plan?" I didn't realize I was being interviewed for a job. What the fuck?
Oh yeah. I feel like when I was younger, I definitely would take that approach of like, hey, I got this checklist over here, and I'm trying to get through as many questions as possible. You know, and like, and it didn't necessarily serve me, but that was definitely the approach. Like, when I was younger, of like, I really approached it as an interview, and I've also been on dates even now where they're in that stage of life of, hey, I've got this checklist, and I'm gonna run through as many questions as possible, rapid fire. And do you have references on some of these answers? And
can I talk to some of your exes?
Right.
Oh my God.
Exactly. So that that can happen.
Oh geez, I want you to show me in point form what your head game is like. Oh my God, I would run for the hills. Oh God, yeah. I hope to never hear from that guy. I haven't heard from that guy yet, because it was a very recent date. But God.
Oh, so this is like just happened.
Yeah, like 2 months ago it happened. So I was like,
okay, what
5-year plan.
What was your response to the question?
My 5-year plan, I was like, I don't know. I kind of live in the moment and live in the present. Like, yeah, I don't really think that far ahead. And I'm more of like, maybe as far as like 6 months from now. And then he gave me this look where it was like up and like looking at me up and down, like head to toe. And I felt like, ugh, I need a shower. This is, yeah, oh God.
Now, how do you think, if you were to rephrase that question to maybe get the same information that wasn't so interview-like, how would you get that same information? Because it sounds like he's a planner, and you're very much a live in the moment. And so maybe if it wasn't presented in that same way, the offense wouldn't have been as taken.
Yeah. Okay, I don't so much live in the moment because I do like to plan things, but not that far ahead, right? Like, give me 2 weeks notice or something. But I think a better question would have been like, so what do you see for yourself? Or like, I guess I would have taken less offense if he were to ask me, do you have any sort of like plans for, I don't know. Actually, you know what? I'm going to have to sit with that because any way I shape it, it feels accusatory or like judgy. What would be a better way to ask me that?
That's fair. I mean, yeah, it does come off of that way. There's a good book by John Gottman. He's a relationship expert out of Seattle, the Institute. And he has a recent book called The 8 Dates. And so it's just 8 different subject matters that you need to have a conversation about. And one of those 8 is like career/money. So by that 5-year plan, he might be asking you about a number of those 8 dates, from values, like, do you value planning versus living in the moment? He could be asking like financially, what is your financial plan? But because it was presented in such an abrasive way, it was really hard to hear past it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if he presented it in a, like, I want to like have a conversation around, these 8 areas, like in some form or fashion, and just maybe it be eased in and not so regimented. It could have had a conversation that could have said, okay, these are my values, and this is how I want to live my life.
I would have appreciated that more rather than, so what's your plan for the next 5 years? I don't fucking know. I don't even know if I'm going to be alive in 5 years or if the world is still going to be here in 5 years. Right. Jesus.
Right. Yeah. But, and maybe if he would have done it in a little more, not necessarily tactful way, but if he would have done it in a way to where that you could hear his intent, it could have been a great date.
It could have been. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still fucked him, but I'm not going to see him again.
That's what's up. You still added him to the kill list?
The kill list? But like there was this mutual agreement at the end of us fucking that we're like, so we didn't really click, we were just really horny. So I'll see you soon.
Hey, I love that honesty. I swear. I really wish that I could have as direct communication as I feel like my gay friends do. Because I swear, like having that direct of a conversation
to the point
in a heterosexual relationship, it does not happen that often.
No.
So I admire that about your lived experience.
We're very like go. Like, are we gonna fuck? Are we not? Like, let's get this train going.
Right, exactly. I will live vicariously through you in that regard, and hope that I can add just a pinch of like directness and honesty in my lived experience as you.
Hopefully not as callous or as cold as me, but go.
Yeah, I probably won't call it a kill list. That wouldn't feel that wouldn't feel like the authentic me, but I'll find a different way to to phrase that time together.
Loved experience, not lived experience. Loved experience.
I like it. I can
go.
I can go with
take
that
it. Take it. It's too corny for me, but so I like that you brought that up because my next question is going to be a little more personal. What have you personally learned about yourself, Andre, and how you relate to yourself and to others after the development of Chosn?
I would say just being comfortable with the idea of not necessarily always being emotionally available. Hey, this is my capacity right now. And this is all I can bring to the table, or how all I can show up emotionally or time wise. I think that was my biggest struggle of like having to think that I needed to be amazing all of the time, and like never wanting to just be open and honest about like, hey, this is all of the capacity that I have right now, and is that okay for you? If you need more than that, like maybe we can touch base later. Just being able to have that conversation. I think that was something that I've grown with. And then also I think just remembering how important different friends that my inner circle is to me, of having that same level of intention and care for my inner circle as I maybe previously would have put forward in my romantic relationships.
That's so profound and like very soul searchy. I like that. I wish I had the same.
Man, let me tell you, like last year when I like all of these nudges, I'm working with relationship professionals on them. And so as we're creating this content, I'm consuming it all and I'm having all of these internal dialogues. So there was like a good 45 days last year that I just did not want to work on Chosn at all, because I was having these internal dialogues. Because like as you're creating this content, I'm asking myself those internal conversations. And so, it was emotionally draining from time to time of just like, man, I don't want to be that introspective right now. Like I don't have the capacity to do it. And so like I would just distract myself in working on different other aspects of Chosn to where I could just avoid not having that dialogue with myself. Just being able to like emotionally handle creating the content and that was a struggle last year for sure. Yeah.
It's a balance, right? You got to find your work-life balance and your personal health, mental health.
Yeah.
For
sure.
And whatever balance looks like to every individual, I feel like that should be the ultimate goal with Chosn, with therapy, because right now I think the entire world is in like such a state of disarray and unbalancedness that we need to find that happy middle at some point, right?
Yeah, I mean, because like we're all like going through. I mean, I would say the one positive thing about right now is that we're all going through something similar in the sense that it's not like you're alone. Like, if you're having doubts and struggles, like, there's millions of other people, hundreds of millions of other people that are going through the same thing. And so I would say that's the one benefit right now is we're not suffering in silence and like wondering if nobody else is going through it. Like, no, we all went through COVID last year, and we're all struggling with, like, are we going to work from home or not work from home? Like, we're re-questioning all of those things. And so I think it's a great time for us to check in with, all of our friends and family and with ourselves, and just realize that, we're all going through it at the same time. You're not alone.
Ooh, I was about to ask, do you have any parting words of wisdom? But damn, you wrapped that up so well. Jeez. Well, this is the segment of the show where I want to play just a short little game with all my guests. Do you have some time, Andre? Yeah. So this segment of the game is called Naughty or Nice. So you get to pick. Do you want to go naughty or nice first?
Let's go with naughty first.
Naughty? Okay, so the naughty part of this game is called red flags. And what we're going to do is we're going to go on, or rather, you're going to set me up on a date. And this date has 3 qualities. 2 are good and 1 is a red flag. And you're basically defending why this date is worth going on. So
okay.
Yeah.
Because the two flags are positive.
Yeah.
And hopefully those 2 flags outweigh the third red flag. Okay.
You would think that, but we'll see.
Possibly.
Okay. All right. So date number 1 is in touch with their feelings. Has all the same hobbies as I do, but only speaks in business buzzwords. Shit. So can we put that in the parking lot? Or like, Jesus. Oh man, that just threw me back to my actual date. What do you have for your 5-year plan?
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Yeah, I think for you that would definitely be a red flag. I could see.
But you have to say why I should go on it. You have to say why should you go on it.
Yeah. Okay, so you should go on it because they are a planner, and so that actually frees you up to live more in the moment because they will do all the planning. And so all you have to do is show up and enjoy the moment, and they will do all of the planning.
Oh my God. But what if, like, in the middle of sex, he's like, I'd like to see my return on investment in this relationship? Oh.
Well, they might be thinking about that in their head, as long as they don't say it out loud.
But they do. They only speak in business buzzwords.
As an entrepreneur, that might turn me on. So I would be in heaven. I'd be like, oh girl, go ahead with your ass self. Let me give you this ROI. So that would be a positive for me, but I could totally see how that would be a negative for you.
Their sexual repertoire is all about key performance indicators or something.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
KPIs.
KPI.
Like, what's your sexual KPIs? Absolutely. I could totally go out with that person. So like I think that like your return on investment might be good because they will do all of the planning, and all you have to do is show up in the moment and enjoy yourself. And just tune out all of that planning. They're going to talk about their plan. They're going to tell you like how they made the best plan. And they might even have a pitch deck on how well they did that plan. But you just need to show up and enjoy yourself.
If he pulls out a pie chart after sex, it's done. I'm over it. I'm done. Done. Over it.
I think that is reasonable to not be happy about that level of feedback. Give it 24 hours, Send me two if you want to. One business day. If you want to send me a survey and I can give you feedback, okay. But let's not do it in the moment.
I'm done. I'm going to stay single forever. I would rather stay single than, oh my God. Okay. Next date here. So he makes me feel secure. That's nice.
Okay. That's nice.
The perfect amount of physical affection.
Okay.
But he's a death row inmate.
Ooh, so I would say the tough part is it's going to be hard for them to go on dates. So,
conjugal visits only.
Conjugal visits only. But I would say that you would never have to worry about them being clingy, because they are, you know where they are. You don't have to worry about jealousy because, like, you know where he was. So yeah, so I would say that would be the benefit, that you could go on that date, because you don't have to worry about, them crossing your emotional availability line.
Oh my God. And I'm their last meal.
Exactly.
And the card never said when they're going to be executed. So who knows? Could be tomorrow. And also they are like, they will have that meal like it is their last. And so I think it would speak to your living in the moment, because they don't, their moment will come to an end at some point. It will also speak to my extremely high libido.
Exactly.
You're never going to know. Oh, jeez. I think you defended this death row inmate better than the buzzword guy. To be quite honest. Yeah, he committed a mass murder, a genocide, but at least he fucks well.
Right, exactly.
Oh my God. Okay, so that was the naughty part of this game. So let's go to the nice, where the questions are a little more wholesome. And I like these ones. So this question says, what was something you learned about sex that you now know to be wrong? Doesn't have to be sex. It can also be relationships too.
I will take this back in the day. So I remember I found condoms in my parents' room, and I could have swore my dad was cheating on my mom. I was like, Mom, you need to leave him. He out here running these streets. He got condoms. Not thinking like, okay, maybe they just don't want to have another sibling.
Kid.
Like,
yeah.
And so, so that was definitely something that, it probably took me to my 20s, because it wasn't like they had a conversation about it. They were just like brushed it under the rug. So so that was definitely something that I know, that, you're not cheating if you use condoms.
Yeah. Or like condoms aren't just for single people. Like married people can use it too.
Married people use them as well. Married people have, family planning, needs as well.
Yeah. They have sex. What? Husbands and wives have sex? What?
Exactly.
Who knew that? I thought sex was only for the single people.
Right, exactly. Or the married people were only having it when they were trying to birth another child. And, they had to wait, a couple business days to find out did it work?
Oh my God, please. This business day thing is going to send me to my grave. I could... I'm triggered now.
I can give you plenty of them. And if you happen to know any females that can talk that language, they can feel free to DM me.
Listen, I work corporate, so probably I will let them know I got friends down south who know that they will get turned on by business buzzwords. Jeez. Okay, so this last question here says, when it comes to your sex life, what has helped you grow the most thus far?
I think being comfortable hearing what's on people's bucket list.
Oh,
because
that's cool.
You just never, like, creating that safe space to where it's comfortable for them to tell you, like, just their most interesting fantasy. And, even if it's something that maybe they don't think that there'll ever be an opportunity to act on it, them being comfortable with saying, yeah, that kind of turns me on. And so whatever that may be, and I feel like usually when it's been outside of a relationship, people are more apt to be like, oh yeah, this really turns me on. But it's like, how can you create that same intimacy and honesty with somebody that you're in a relationship with, and making them feel safe enough to share with each other?
God damn it, Andre, you're so wholesome. I can't. I am so fucking disgusting and filthy, but you're like talking about love and self-care and shit. Like, God damn it. I'm making me look so bad on my own show.
Sometimes self-care is the nasty fantasies that we have. Like, that's a form of self-care.
You know what? Okay, yeah, true.
Being in a group situation and you're the center of attention, that's self-care, right?
True. I'm like Tinkerbell in that if the attention's not on me, I will die.
All right, exactly.
Oh my God, Andre, thank you so much for coming on the show. You're such an amazing guest, and I hate to wrap up anything, but now that we're coming to the end, can you please make like a butt and plug away anything that you want the audience to find?
So I would say on social media, you can find us at Chosn app. Online, you can find us at chosn.io. And you can find me on Twitter at Andre Chosn.
Perfect. So succinct. Love it. Well, everybody, you made it this far into this chaotic ass conversation. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Sex Ed with Tim podcast. Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe, because guess what? You are supporting comprehensive, thorough sex education and queer content, and we love an ally. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button, that 5-star or whatever it is that you do on podcast websites. I don't listen to my own show, but anyways, spread the love, and don't forget to share with your friends. And with that, I bid you all good night, and I will see you at the next episode. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Sex Ed with Tim podcast. Sex Ed with Tim is created and produced by me, Tim Lagman. Music is Aces High by Kevin MacLeod. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at GaySlutClown and at Sex Ed with Tim. You can also like and follow me on the Sex Ed with Tim Facebook page. If you enjoyed the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for all your support, you dirty little slut. Mwah.